my hands together, figure four, and controlling that wrist. Getting a variation of a 2-on-1 gets a lot of control. We're also talking about how to use the thread of an armbar to take the back. Now we talk about the rewind principle, right? Where if I go into a technique one way, I can probably rewind it and go into it from the opposite direction. So instead of going A to B, I can go B to A. And while that, again, it seems very simple to say, if you don't look for that when you're rolling, if you don't look for that when you're developing your game, you can miss a lot of opportunities. So when you start looking for that, you can kind of double your threats, right? If you get really good at going A to B and then B to A, you have a double attack. Whereas if you're just going from A to B, you kind of start limiting yourself. You get really kind of pigeonholed into going one direction. But as soon as you start seeing those connections back and forth, you start opening up the way you're able to threaten your opponent, the way you're able to keep attacking. It gets to be pretty dynamic, and it really gets to be a lot more fun because you kind of see all the possibilities of what you're trying to do. So we'll talk about going from the armbar from the back, but I want you guys to see this. So barrel goes back into technical mount. So if I go to an armbar from technical mount, so I'm here, inside, I get my Kimura grip, I'm pulling this out, getting forearm pressure on his face. I'm using that to start stepping over and attacking this armbar. And a lot of times, depending on where his elbow position is, I get this foot folded inside almost like an S mount. I can start leaning here to get this armbar nice and deep. But I want you to look at the angle here. So I'm 90 degrees to Daryl. So if this is almost like attacking from the guard, right? So I get 90 degrees. I'm not facing him, right? I'm not directly behind him. I'm cutting the perpendicular here. I've got a lot of control on Daryl. I'm controlling this arm. I'm keeping his face away. I'm keeping the pressure on his face. That way he can't follow me. Which by keeping that space controlled, I can stretch the arm a lot better. He's not able to stack me. So I'm doing all the same things I do from guard, except from technical mount. Now let's change orientation. Let's go to back control. Here. So I'm here. So now when I'm controlling from the back, let's talk about this position a little bit. Personally, I prefer to be overhook, controlling the wrist here. I'm hugging here. Because that puts me on my choke side. Because when it's here, I start putting this arm in. It's a lot easier to pull this arm out and start finishing my rear naked. If Daryl ends up laying on top of this arm here, he starts laying on my underhook, and my overhook is facing the ceiling here, it can be a lot trickier to finish the choke. Because if I beat his chin, I'm laying on top of my own arm. I'm kind of blocking myself. It can be a lot more difficult to finish this rear naked here. But it's an opportunity to go to the armbar. So a lot of times, threatening from the back is a way to get the armbar, right? So we talked about threatening the armbar to get the back. So I can rewind that and threaten back attacks to get to my armbar. So as much as Daryl's worried about this rear naked choke, a lot of times we'll flip to this side to hide from it. And it's going to give me an opportunity to transition to an armbar from here. So now in this position, it's important that I keep my head between Daryl's head and the mat. Because this is kind of the classic escape position for him. Where if he gets on this side, he can start elevating his hips and start going out. Yeah, start shrimping away. It's very fundamental. But if I put my head between his head and the mat, I can keep him from escaping. I control the distance a little bit. Right here, nice and tight, always hugging in here. Okay, now I'm in this position. I'm going to grab the wrist with the overhook. Grab my own wrist. I'm getting that figure four grip established here. Okay. I'm going to put my foot on the hip. Now, I put my foot on when I put my foot on his hip, I should say. When I put my foot on his hip, I use this to start creating a little bit of angle here. Because right now I'm parallel with Daryl. I go here, push down, push myself away, start popping this heel up a little bit. Now I rotate this wrist out, set that cross-face pressure, rotate my angle, and go into my armbar position. So let's look at that from over here. I want you guys to really see how I'm creating this angle on Daryl here. So I'm here, boom, grip, establish my figure four, keep my head in nice and tight, foot. Now I'm going to cut the 90-degree transition, foot on the hip, start pushing myself away, take this foot across his belt line, here. Elbow out, use that to cross face. Now I'm getting up nice and tight. So it ends up being the opposite transition. So it ends up being very similar to the technical mount armbar, right? I'm just going back to that orientation from Daryl's back, right? So instead of this position, where I'm here, this is the exact same position I was in technical mount. Okay, if we take this, we get Daryl to flip up, put your feet over here and head over here, just like that. This is the exact same thing we were just doing from the back. We just rotated the orientation a bit. Thank you. So you're starting to see how the connection is two-way. And that two-way street gives you a lot more opportunities and a lot more options.